Alright, what is up YouTube? Welcome back to the Cutlass Board Games channel. Now, if you spent any time hanging around our videos, you will realize that we do a lot of Bottom of the Clocktower content, and we do a bunch of homebrew character content. And so, in this video, I'm going to explain literally from start to finish the entire process that I go through when it takes from creating a concept all the way into getting that homebrew character completely into the game client so that you can play it in online games. Now, the first step is getting your icon. Normally, I already have an idea what the character is going to do, and I will pick out something. I normally go Google shovel vector, and then I will throw it all up into the Photoshop. And basically, the way that the icon maker that we're going to use in a second works is anything that's solid, like you can see the big YouTube logo, solid part, and then the background here is transparent, and then the center of the actual play section is transparent. This is a PNG, and the transparency is important because the way that the icon is going to work in the editor is basically it takes all of the solid and it is going to paint over it using the colors, firstly, of the different character types. So I could make this townsfolk blue, I can make this minion orange, I can make this demon red. And then anything that is transparent is ignored. So if you have a more complicated picture, and like you can see with some of the ones that I do, I sometimes use an eraser to trace the outline so you can see a bit better what the actual image is going to be. And I might just like composite a bunch of vectors together. Like I have a bunch of ones that is just like a scary face, and I'll put something with it. And it doesn't have to be too crazy, just something that you can tell it apart from the other characters. I think it makes a big deal in helping you identify what's going on and making people feel like this is a real character that they get to play and engage with. So they're not switched off like, oh, what is this cursed, horrible random thing? And I think I appreciate the showmanship of it a little bit too. But what we are using is Bloodstar Clocktower. I'll have a link for that in the description. This is the thing that I've been using the most. I think it works for everything that I need to do. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, up the top here, you have your image and your token. The actual gray token back thing, you can completely ignore that. And the text on the thing, you can completely ignore that. The only thing that is going to be loaded from this into the online client is the actual icon that we just created in step one, and everything else is going to be generated in the app. So we don't need to worry about that. This is just a preview for you to get an idea of what it will be like. So the first thing you would do is you go choose image, you will pick out the PNG that you just saved, you will load it up into the thing and you'll see it on there. And then if you click on style settings, which we have here, you can see some of the options. The first thing I normally play around with is the size and the vertical and horizontal placements so that I can fit it nice and centered. But you can see I've loaded up the YouTube logo. You can see how it's got the demon mottled texture across the top. But this is specifically a minion that we have put in, and you'll see in a second. But we have selected outsider/minion colors off because the current trending for the scripts tool is to all evil players red, all good players blue. There's no differential between like a lighter blue outsiders or orange minions like there used to be. It's all just red and blue now. And so that is a button that I click often because I want my minions to be red. And then you can play on with some of the other things that you need to, but pretty much everything that's not the sliders at the top and not the outsider minion, I don't touch. I don't need to. I've never needed to fiddle with it, and everything I have done, it turns out okay. So don't be feeling overwhelmed looking at this screen. It's just change the sliders if you've mispositioned your thing or it's loaded a bit small, totally fine. In that first picture we did with the YouTube icon on it, it was a 900 by 900 pixel. That's what I normally use. I normally make it fill the middle 60-70% of the space, and then it loads in a little small and I crank it up, all right? Because if it's too big, it overlaps with stuff. It's a little wonky. I have done some that are a little bit too big. It's not really that big a deal, but I think this works just fine. And then our next step is the ability text. So if you put in the name, you will see that the preview has been updated to match the name that I've written on the thing. But again, this token doesn't matter. It's not going to show up anything in the app, and you'll see later. Team is minion, but it is nice and red. And then I've just added an ability so that we have something for it, which is once per game, choose a player. They subscribe to your YouTube channel. That's what you should be doing right now. And that's just basically filler text for what we're going to be needing later on. And then you can see what's up next is reminders and reminder tokens, which is our next step. So the first one in reminders is the first night reminder and the other night reminder. The first night reminder is for characters without an asterisk, and the other night reminders is for characters with an asterisk. If something doesn't have an asterisk and it acts on both the first and the second night and the consecutive nights, then you need both first night reminder. Most of the time, and you'll see this later, I will show you what actually ends up going in here. I would just say wake the player, because I've run many games. I can just read the character token to see what it does. I don't need it specifically written on the night sheet, the instructions for how to run the character like the night sheet currently is. But if you want to be specific, which lately when I make scripts, I try and make it so that any other storyteller who is not familiar with the characters can pick it up and play it. So I do fill out these things with interesting tips and advice and that kind of stuff. Then that's the way to go. So you'd be like, first night reminder, wake the player to select a player. It's like kind of the most generic one that you'll see. But then the second section, reminder tokens, that's what you see in the center of the grimoire. That's the like seamstress ability spent. That's the night watchman ability used. That's the juggles. That's all of these kind of different things that help you remind how an ability has functioned, or like keeping track of what the mayor's word was, or stuff like that. For example, one of my homebrew characters, the Pit Crone, has the ability to give 2 players each night an off-script, not in-play outsider ability. Now, there is exactly a specific list of which outsiders that can be, and so it's included in the reminder tokens. I have all the reminder tokens of exactly the full list of what they can be. And then just for this explanation, what I've done in these 4 boxes, first night, other night, character, global, I've just written wakes. The difference between character and global is the character ones will only show up if the character is in play, but then there's a button you can toggle to do it if it's not in play. Like if just someone has it selected as one of the people in the thing, it will show up. Global will just be, it'll show up no matter what, which is fine. But for just this, I've just written wakes in all 4 of those boxes. And then the next step is you click publish, and then publish will post basically the entire script. It saves it and then it will upload it so that you are able to use it. And it will basically spit out a hyperlink here. I've hidden mine because I've just literally attached it to an existing script that I'm working on. And it basically lets you download the JSON text. So if you see script here, and it says copy over on one side, you click on that, you put it into your browser, and then it will spit out something that looks like this. This is what your script looks like right now. You might recognize some of the characters, like right up the top here on the left, you can see the Pit Crone and the list of outsiders. But right down at the bottom here, YouTube tutorial. That's our guy right here, YouTube tutorial. And so basically I will go on copy, just that last line of text. That last line of text, and I'm going to put the JSON, put it into whatever JSON scripts that I have that I'm going to be using. One of the ways that I do this usually is I use the actual official Blood on the Clocktower script tool, and I put, because I do both homebrew and regular characters, I'll put the regular characters on it that I'm going to use. And then I save that as the JSON, and then I copy my homebrew thing and paste it in afterwards. And we'll see in a second exactly how that's going to look. Because this is the JSON loaded in Notepad+, I think is what I use. And you can actually see I've segmented things a little bit, right? So I've got some of my guys at the top, and then I have the balloonist and the village idiot, and then I have another custom character, and then I have a couple more of the existing characters, and then I have the rest of them, right? And you can see at the bottom here, I've got YouTube tutorial put right at the bottom. And basically the order here is basically how the script is spat out. So I have these characters, Towncrier, Monk, Lunatic, Mezephiles, Moonchild, right? You'll notice there towards the bottom, Towncrier and the Monk are asterisk characters, and so they're usually like in the last third of the townsfolk, really. And then stuff like the Balloonist and the Village Idiot, which are not asterisk characters, go before them, and so they are further up on the list. And the ones above them are all you start knowing things. And then you can see like all the demons and stuff down here, Snake, Shackled, Hysteria, Bafflement, which we're going to see in a second. But this is what your script is going to look like in the end. If you just copy everything directly from the Bloodstar export and then post it directly into Notepad, it just makes it one long line. So the thing that I do is I search for this curly brackets ID. This is always the very, very first thing at the beginning of a character. I will search for this, and then I will separate it. Also, each line is one character, with the exception of the ones that's just literally a name and quotes. That can just be a whole line itself. It doesn't get that long, but all the other stuff has a lot of data to it, and it's easier to separate like this so you can keep it organized. And then this is where I go in and edit the night order. What happens is if you just use Bloodstar to do the night order, it only orders it against the homebrew characters you've created. So if you're making a script that is just homebrew characters, then that's fine. There is literally a tool in there where you just drag and drop and you order them, and then that's going to be your entire night sheet. So if you have an entire homebrew script, that is an easy way to do that. You can also just like download the PNGs of the original character art and then just load the original characters into the Bloodstar so that your import is perfect. I could do that if I really wanted. I have decided to do it this way instead. But doing it this way instead means that I have this slightly harder problem of setting the night sheet perfectly. And that's where, if you see where it says other night and then the number. So from what I understand, it's really hard to tell exactly when all the things happen. But because you have a specific night order, right? Like the monk needs to go before the demon because you need to know who the monk is protected before you find out who the demon's going to kill. Stuff like that. And then like all the townsfolk information is at the bottom and like that kind of thing, right? You have kind of your different blocks of when things happen. You use that number, for example, other night 73, you use that number and you can see it's quite a high number. The people wake up on the first night is about 75, and then on other nights is about 90. I don't know why it is different, but if you want something to be right at the very, very end, you want it to be a relatively high number, but like obviously just before dawn. And then you want to kind of order things that does actually play out correctly. You want to be able to try and order everything so that it works. I basically go in here, open up where it says other night, I type in a number, I save the document, I open up on the Clocktower app, I load the script again, I go and open the night sheet and I have a look and I go, is this correct? Do I need to move this up and down or not? Is this fine? Yes, it's fine. Cool. I'll move on to the next step. And it's really just going and finding where it says other night or first night and then adjusting the number next to it. It's really straightforward. But other night and first night only shows up in the JSON code if you have an instruction written there. So where it says earlier, I wrote just wakes, that is enough for it to generate a number. And you can see on this the YouTube tutorial one on the very, very bottom line, first night 14, other night 9. It was the very last character added to the just the scripting that I had there, which meant that of the first 9 things, it's going to be the last one, which is 14. But of the things that act in other nights, it's 9th, which is really early. Actually, the 9th thing on that script is not many things, but where things sit in the night order, 9th is like among the first of them. And we'll see that in a second, because the next thing we do is we go to our Blood on the Clocktower client. You can see I've just loaded up the script that I was working on that I've put YouTube tutorial in at the end. And because it's the very, very last thing in the JSON, but it is segmented by character type, it is the very, very last minion. And when we load our custom script, you basically hit the cog wheel, you go select the scripts, and then at the bottom is customs, and then you go upload, and then you can select the file. Or you can copy your link if you have the link using the Bloodstar export if the whole thing is in there and complete. So with this, you can see the icon loaded, the name YouTube tutorial loaded, and then the text that we had before has loaded here on the script, which means so far everything is working correctly. The next step, I've then loaded it up into the town, just gone in and select the character. This is YouTube tutorial, just to show the wakes reminder token. So the reminder token generates its image based on the character art, and you can see that the token here doesn't match the one in Bloodstar because it's just using the icon. It is not actually using the token. This is all fine. We don't need to worry about most of these things. And then this is the night sheet. Now you can see on the first night, it was number 14, a big number. 14 is a big number, but it's literally before the demon receives their info at the beginning of the game. I don't think that is normally when you're going to be adding abilities. So you can see that's obviously something that you would want to adjust. You would want to look at it. You go, okay, maybe it's more of a 60, maybe it's more of a 70 if you want it to be down here with the townsfolk. And then same goes for the other knights. But that's pretty much it. That's really all you need to know. 15 minutes and you have completely learned how to make a custom homebrew character for Blood on the Clocktower. And look, honestly, once you've seen how it all comes together and you've kind of done it once, I spend more time in Photoshop fiddling around with the character icon. Like you can see over here at the bottom, the imitator and the psionic, that's mine. The psionic is just literally a brain vector that I put sunglasses on. It's really simple, nothing too crazy, but just enough for people to be able to identify it out of the list. And look, that's kind of it. I would love to hear, some ideas that you guys have for homebrew characters. Put them in the comments. I always love hearing about people's ideas for Clocktower characters. And I love hearing about ideas for suggestions, changes, fixes for the ones that I work on. So definitely go and check out some of the videos that I have where I've showing off some of my homebrew showcases. For example, a Lone Caller Nox is the current homebrew script that I am working on. It's got some kooky stuff in there. You might see before, if you go back a couple of slides and have a look, you can read the demons on there. But that's kind of it. I just wanted to come on, give some people that are watching the channel the ability to perhaps do things the same way that I have been doing, so that you can cook. But also sometimes when I'm running games and people see them on the YouTube and they go, oh, that's a really cool character, I want to play it, I put the JSON paste in the description, and you can literally just copy that and then put it into the bottom of one of your JSONs, and then bam, you can play that character. For example, Empire is probably my most successful Teensyville character, and it shows up a lot in the videos that we play, so I like that character a lot. You can do the same. You can steal that, put it in one of your JSONs, you can play that character. So this should be everything that you need to be able to get started playing with homebrew characters, and I hope that means that you're going to be doing some cool stuff soon. You're going to be cooking up some spicy characters for us all to see and play with.